Maya was 22 years old, and poverty was the first thing she felt every morning before she even opened her eyes. She lived with her family in a small, crowded house where money was always short and worry was always loud. The walls were thin, the rooms were tight, and every conversation seemed to circle back to the same question: how to survive another month. Maya did not complain out loud, but the weight of responsibility sat heavy on her shoulders. She was young, but she felt much older than her age. Every day, Maya worked long hours in a small shop. She stood behind the counter, smiling at customers, her feet aching, her back stiff, her mind drifting far away from that narrow space. The job paid little, but it was necessary. Her family depended on her income, and that knowledge followed her like a shadow. While other girls her age talked about dreams, travel, or love, Maya talked about prices, bills, and shortages. By the time she closed the shop each evening, she felt empty, as if her youth was slowly being spent on survival instead of hope. What hurt her most was not just the lack of money, but the lack of a future she could imagine. No matter how hard she worked, nothing seemed to change. The days repeated themselves, one after another, until they blended together. Sometimes she wondered if this was all her life would ever be: work, worry, sleep, repeat. She did not feel lazy or careless. She felt trapped. And that feeling slowly began to shrink her sense of dignity, even though she tried to hide it behind patience and silence. One evening, after another long shift, a friend invited Maya to a party in the city. At first, Maya wanted to refuse. Parties felt like places meant for other people, people with money and freedom. But something inside her hesitated. Opportunities like this did not come often. Maybe, just for one night, she could step out of her small life and breathe differently. She told herself she deserved a break, even if it was brief. When Maya arrived at the party, everything felt unfamiliar. The music was loud, the lights were warm, and the people looked confident and carefree. Expensive clothes, easy laughter, drinks that cost more than her daily meals surrounded her. For the first time in a long while, no one knew her struggles. No one asked what she owed or what she had to fix. In that room, she was just a young woman, not a burden or a provider. As she stood there, adjusting her dress and steadying her breath, Maya made a quiet promise to herself. She was not there to change her life forever. She just wanted one night where she did not feel invisible, one night where poverty did not define her worth. I didn't want luxury, she thought. I just wanted to stop feeling small. The party felt like another world, one Maya had only seen in movies or through shop windows she never entered. The music wrapped around the room like a promise, and the laughter sounded effortless, as if money had removed every sharp edge from life. People spoke loudly, confidently, holding their glasses as if nothing in the world could fall apart. Maya stood near the wall at first, watching, learning how to move, how to smile, how to belong for just one night. That was when she noticed Bruce. He did not laugh like the others. He did not move much. He stood slightly apart from the crowd, dressed in a dark, perfectly fitted suit that spoke of quiet wealth. His hair was touched with gray, his posture calm and controlled. He looked like a man who owned things, not just objects, but time, space, and other people's attention. When his eyes met Maya's, he did not look away. He studied her slowly, carefully, as if he had already made a decision. Bruce walked toward her, and with each step, Maya felt her heart beat faster. When he spoke, his voice was low and steady. He told her her eyes were beautiful. The compliment was simple, but it landed deep. No one had spoken to her like that in a long time. Not as a worker, not as a daughter with responsibilities, but as a woman who mattered in that moment. Maya felt something open inside her, something dangerous and sweet. They talked. Or rather, Bruce talked and Maya listened. He spoke about his life, his travels, his successes, the comfort of never having to worry about money. His words painted pictures of large homes, private spaces, and freedom that did not depend on anyone else. Maya knew she should question him, doubt him, protect herself. But the dream was warm, and it felt good to sit inside it. She imagined her parents no longer struggling, imagined herself waking up without fear, imagined a future that did not begin with exhaustion. Maya was not innocent in that moment. She knew what she was doing when she smiled a little longer, when she leaned closer, when she let her charm speak instead of her caution. She told herself that this was how the world worked, that people like Bruce expected admiration and youth in exchange for generosity. If she could give him what he wanted, maybe he could give her what she needed. It felt like a fair trade, even if it was built on silence rather than truth. When Bruce invited her upstairs for a drink, her first instinct was fear. Her second was excitement. The room above was quieter, darker, filled with soft light and the smell of expensive alcohol. As the door closed behind them, Maya felt the weight of her choice settle in her chest. This was the moment she could still turn back. No one was forcing her. No one was holding her hand. The decision belonged to her alone. Bruce sat close to her, his presence heavy but controlled. When his hand touched hers, Maya did not pull away. She told herself that she was strong, that she was choosing this path, not being pushed onto it. Yet beneath that confidence, a small voice whispered questions she did not want to answer. Was this desire or desperation? Was she being seen, or was she being evaluated like a product? As the night moved forward, the excitement blurred with uncertainty. Maya focused on the warmth, on the attention, on the feeling of being wanted. She pushed away thoughts of tomorrow, of consequences, of what this moment might cost her later. In that room, she convinced herself that she was clever, that she was finally stepping ahead of her life instead of falling behind it. She did not yet understand that shortcuts often hide their price until it is too late to turn around. "I knew I was choosing a shortcut," Maya would later admit. "I just didn't know where it led." Morning came quietly, without music, without soft laughter, without the magic Maya had imagined the night before. She opened her eyes slowly, expecting light filtered through tall windows, expecting the feeling of space and comfort that rich homes always seem to have. Instead, she saw a low ceiling with small cracks running across it. The air felt cold. The room felt tight. The furniture was old, mismatched, and worn. For a few seconds, she told herself she was still half asleep, that this was just another trick of the dark. Then she sat up. Reality did not change. The bed creaked under her weight. The curtains were thin and faded. The floor was bare. This was not a luxury apartment. This was not a hidden corner of wealth. This was a place someone lived in because they had no better option. Maya's chest tightened. She turned her head and saw Bruce sitting on the edge of the bed, already dressed, his shoulders curved forward, his eyes fixed on the floor. He did not look powerful now. He did not look confident. He looked small. He looked afraid. For the first time, Maya truly saw him. Not the man from the party, not the voice full of promises, but a man weighed down by something heavy and unresolved. She asked nothing, but her silence demanded answers. Bruce stood up quickly, avoiding her eyes, and said he needed to go out for a moment. His voice shook slightly. Maya followed him without thinking, pulled by confusion, anger, and a growing sense that the truth was still hidden from her. They walked through quiet streets. Bruce moved fast, as if afraid she might disappear if he slowed down. Finally, he stopped in front of a large house, clean and solid, the kind of place Maya had imagined when he spoke about his life. Her heart jumped for a brief second. Maybe this was it. Maybe the small apartment was just a secret place, a temporary space. Maybe she had misunderstood everything. Bruce rang the doorbell. The door opened, and a woman stood there. She was calm, older than Maya, dressed simply, her face unreadable. Her eyes moved from Bruce to Maya, then back again. Maya felt her throat close. She wanted to speak, to ask questions, to explain herself, but no words came out. Bruce stood frozen beside her, his face pale, his confidence completely gone. The woman asked who Maya was looking for. Before Maya could answer, Bruce stepped forward, his voice barely audible. The woman turned to him slowly, and then she said the words that ended everything. She said she was his wife. The world did not shatter loudly. It collapsed quietly inside Maya's chest. The room spun. Heat rushed to her face, followed by a deep, crushing shame. Bruce was not just poor. He was not just dishonest. He was trapped, married, dependent, living in someone else's shadow. The story he sold her was not a dream. It was a costume he wore to feel powerful for a few hours. Maya's anger rose, sharp and burning. She confronted him, her voice breaking as she spoke. She told him he lied about his life, about his money, about who he was. She told him he made her believe she mattered, that she was chosen, that she was special. His wife listened without interrupting, her expression tired rather than surprised. When she spoke, her words were calm and final. She explained that Bruce had lost everything years ago, that he lived in her house under her rules, with no control over his own life. She said he often chased young women not because he loved them, but because he needed to feel young, important, alive. Maya looked at Bruce then and understood something painful. He had not wanted her. He had wanted what she represented. Youth. Escape. A mirror that reflected back a version of himself he could no longer be. She was not a dream. She was a distraction. She left without another word. Later that day, Bruce found her outside the shop where she worked. He apologized, spoke of loneliness, of control, of regret. His words almost touched her heart, but the truth stood between them like a wall. She saw clearly now. They had both tried to use each other to escape their lives. An escape, she learned, always comes with a cost. In that moment, Maya finally understood the truth she had been avoiding. She was never special to him. She was simply available. I wasn't special, she realized as she turned away. I was convenient. Bruce stood outside the small shop where Maya worked, looking nothing like the man she had met at the party. His suit was gone. His posture was bent. His eyes carried the weight of someone who had run out of places to hide. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost careful, as if he feared even words could push her further away. He apologized again slowly, not trying to charm her this time. He told her about his loneliness, about how his life had been taken over piece by piece until nothing felt like his own. He admitted he lived under control, under rules he did not set, in a home that did not feel like freedom. Maya listened without interrupting. For the first time, she was not blinded by anger or fantasy. She saw a man who had made bad choices and never recovered from them. A man who once had ambition, money, power, and then lost it all. A man who searched for youth not because he desired it, but because he needed proof that he was still alive. Bruce did not excuse his lies, but he explained his desperation. He said that with her, even for one night, he felt important again. He felt seen. And that was when Maya felt something unexpected. Not forgiveness, not affection, but clarity. She felt a soft wave of empathy rise inside her. She could see how broken he was, how small his world had become, how trapped he felt in a life he no longer respected. For a brief moment, she understood him. But understanding did not erase what he had done. It did not remove the humiliation, the lies, the shock of realizing she had been a convenient escape rather than a choice. Maya realized something painful but necessary. Bruce was not a monster. He was a weak man making selfish decisions. And weakness, she learned, could hurt just as deeply as cruelty. She also saw herself clearly in that moment. She had not been innocent either. She had wanted him to be rich. She had wanted him to save her from her own struggles. She had stepped into the illusion willingly, because it promised relief. Standing there, Maya understood the truth fully. Bruce could not rescue her from poverty or responsibility, and she could not rescue him from his empty life or his lost power. They were not a love story. They were two people reaching for each other in the dark, hoping to escape themselves. She looked at Bruce one last time and felt the distance settle between them, firm and final. There was nothing left to say. No future to imagine. Only a lesson to carry forward. They had not hurt each other by accident. They had met at their weakest, and weakness had written the outcome for them both. Maya returned to her old life, but nothing inside her felt the same anymore. The small house was still crowded, the money was still tight, and the shop where she worked still demanded long hours on her feet. Yet something fundamental had shifted. She no longer woke up imagining escape through someone else's life. She no longer searched faces for rescue. What she carried now was clarity, and it was heavier than dreams but far more real. She admitted the truth to herself without excuses. The desire to change her life quickly had blinded her. Wanting money was not wrong, but wanting it without effort had led her to give away pieces of her dignity without even realizing it. She understood now that shortcuts often demand payment in ways people never expect. Not always with pain at first, but with self-respect later. Maya did not hate Bruce. Hatred felt like another chain, and she had carried enough. But she also did not forgive him in a romantic way. She accepted what happened for what it was, a meeting of two broken needs that could never heal each other. She let go, not because he deserved peace, but because she did. Slowly, Maya began to plan again, this time with her feet on the ground. She saved small amounts of money. She looked for better work. She thought about learning new skills, not to impress anyone, but to protect herself. For the first time, her future felt like something she could build instead of something she had to beg for. She learned the lesson that stayed with her long after the shame faded. No one can give you value if you do not build it yourself. Money can open doors, but it cannot create safety inside your heart. And freedom does not come from being chosen, but from choosing yourself. If you have ever dreamed of escaping poverty overnight, like this story, if you were in Maya's place, would you forgive, or would you walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe to learn English through real-life stories with depth, truth, and meaning.